Your Partner in Success Radio is a free business podcast with host Denise Griffitts. It's all about great stories, conversation, and context to help you move your business and life forward with actionable tips and advice from her guest experts. To listen and subscribe, just find us on iTunes, Google Play, or wherever you consume your podcasts.
Welcome to Your Partner in Success Radio. What is disruptive innovation? I'm your host, Denise Griffitts, and America's small business expert, Bill Walsh, joins me today to discuss using the power of disruptive innovation. And he's going to share with us how to launch and grow and build a successful business, focus on the vision, the mission, and the path, and the purpose. He's also going to share how to do this while utilizing needed tools that are going to generate new leads, sales, great partnerships, and teams, and how to survive and thrive in today's global marketplace. It's a lot to cover. It really is. So I'm going to do my best not to interrupt him as he shares. Now, about Bill, he is a venture capitalist and is the CEO and founder of Success Education Business Coaching, and speaker train firm Powerteam International. I apologize for my voice. We've had back-to-back hurricanes, and it just plays all kinds of merry hell with my vocal cords, I'm afraid. Bill has been ranked for the last 5 years in a row by Guru Magazine as one of the top 30 business coaches in the world, and has been honored to lecture at Harvard University a time or two. Bill, good morning. It's good to have you here. Thank you.
Great morning. It's an honor to be on your show. Congratulations on all of your success and all the lives you get to change with your message every week. Pretty awesome.
You know, it is awesome, but it's never my message. It's all about my guests. You know, I am so fortunate and so honored to every Monday now and every Friday to meet people like you and people from all over the world with terrific tips, advice, case studies. They've been there, they've done it, they've failed, they've crawled back up. The stories are tremendous, but the advice is the best. And listen, it's not about me at all. It's about you.
Well, I appreciate that, but you know what? You built a great listenership, and the only way you do that is by providing lots of value. And whether it's you're being the conduit or you're sharing some of your insight and wisdom or bringing the insight and wisdom to your guests, it's a job well done. So I appreciate all the work you do.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate that.
What are we going to talk about today?
Disruptive innovation. What the heck is it? I need to. Well, before we get too far down that rabbit hole, is there anything you want the audience to know before we talk about disruptive innovation? Because it doesn't sound fun. It sounds disruptive. So we really need to go into that so people aren't going, "What the heck is she asking about?"
So we can really dive into that. Obviously, my background is out of high school and college, a trader. I traded currency in New York and Chicago. I did 10 years of turnarounds, just fixing businesses, either take it public, shut the company down, sell the assets, or fix the business. And it was really in the 90s that I was coined the name the Rainmaker, because we had to make it rain. You had to make it rain leads and sales. And, you know, a lot of people don't realize that for a small business, sales will solve most of your problems. And I was really, I got to a point where I did it for so long that I got burnt out. So I'm sure if you're listening today, you've probably been at a point in your life or your business career that you just said, you know, and I tell people to just write this down. I wrote this down in the year 2000 that there has to be more. There just has to be more. And I took a week off that turned into 2 years, and I came back and decided to team up with a young company called GoDaddy as a marketing partner. Another company called Franklin Covey as a channel partner. And we launched a little product called Business in a Box. It's called Successfolio. That we gave you a website, and we gave you a way to get organized and a business plan, and said, go get them. So I never really believed in telling people what business to do. Most people today know what they're great at. They know that if their product can serve a lot of people, if there's money in the industry, if they're passionate about it, right? And they go to work. You know, most people don't want to hear this, but I wrote a best-selling book called The Obvious after a lot of my friends were in a movie called The Secret, because I realized The Secret's a great place to start, but then you got to put the work behind it. And sure enough, after that, I was short about $1 million, you know, to get the marketing out there, because I believe that most of your success goes back to marketing. And I went back to one of the greatest things that I learned over my life and my business career was that all throughout the career, you've got to invest in great relationships. And I look back and figured out, because if you'll invest in great relationships, it'll pay you a lifetime of dividends. And I went back to some of the people that I had served in the past, and they became marketing partners who went from 0 to 20 countries in 20 months, all because of the fact that we had good marketing and good marketing partners. And then we launched an incubator course called Rainmaker to help entrepreneurs. We launched a venture fund in 2007. We launched Masterminds in 2008, Inspiration Conference 2009, Speaker Camps in 2010, became the main sponsor for all the small business expos and went from 2 cities to 17 cities and over 100,000 attendees a year within 7 years. We launched book writing courses, internet courses. We now have masterminds that run in 35-plus cities to help small business owners. And then, of course, as all this craziness came about, we went digital. So we went from running nearly 450 live events a year to 0. And we went from 0 digital events to over 300 digital events a year, all because of the fact that the market had moved. The disruptive was there. Now the question was, are you willing to innovate? And we'll dive into some of that today. But because of that, it also allowed me to have the time to reflect. And I think one of the most important things we'll talk about today is that you've got to adapt. You've got to realize whatever's happening, it's happening, and you can focus on the global economy or you can focus on your personal economy. And many people will just focus on the global economy and become a victim, or you can focus on your personal economy and really figure out ways to adapt into the marketplace. And I'll talk about some case studies today that I've done research on that have done really well in sectors that aren't doing well, but they've done well. And there's a difference in the way that they perceive this massive, massive challenge that small business is facing today and the way other people perceive it and how they react to it. Because, so much of this is always how you react to what happens, not what happens, but how you react to it. So it'll be fun to go down that conversation. But I want to tell everyone, too, that I've had plenty of failures. I'm a big believer that if you'll write these 2 things down, that persistence plus failure actually equals success. So I've failed plenty of times, but I've got back up, and I've realized that those failures were lessons. And I've had some very expensive $1 million lessons where it's like, gosh, how did I not see that? But the thing is, many times that it was fun. They had the head of the Carlyle Group on TV just the other day, and he said he talked about his winners, but he also talked about his losers. He talked about the ones that he missed, and he said back in the 90s, his daughter approached him with this really clever idea that this guy had at Harvard about creating this social network thing, and he said, "Well, that's a really bad idea. That business will probably never make it." And sure enough, that business was a little company called Facebook, But he did catch the Amazon train super early, one of the first early investors in Amazon. So it wasn't like he's done bad, but he just said, I've also missed a lot of things. And I think a sign of a great leader is one that can also be reflective of the challenge that we faced, and knowing without a doubt that all the greatest leaders, all the greatest success stories, they've all faced challenges. They've all made mistakes. So I've certainly had my share of those. So I like to preface that with, I wish I could tell you it was always winners, winners, winners. I've had plenty of losers. We've also had a lot of winners, and that's really the greatest part of and when you begin to look at your life and you realize, and today being my birthday, of course, kind of fun to be reflective, right? But
happy birthday.
It's always the ripple effect of your work. It's not just your success. Look at the success of those that are around you. Look at how many lives they're impacting because you are a part of their success story in whatever industry you're in. And that's a great measure to see just how well you're doing and just how well you're making a difference in the world, because it's not just making money anymore. Part of disruptive innovation is that social impact, believe it or not, is the currency of the future. It's not that you just make a lot of money, you actually make a difference in the communities or the regions or the nation or the world that you live in, that you do business in. So that gives you a little bit of of how we got to where we're at today, and then we can kind of drive the conversation from here.
Absolutely. And that was brilliant. Thank you. I was scribbling, and now I can't even read some of it. Do me a favor and say again, persistence plus failure equals
success.
That's what
Everyone
I thought
gets
you
the persistence part. They always say persistence plus this, but they never realize it's persistence plus failure. I mean, if you look at Lincoln, how many elections did he lose? If you look at all the great leaders, how many times did Edison fail? Oh, that's right, just over 10,000. How many people told Colonel Sanders his chicken idea was stupid? No one's going to buy your stupid chicken recipe, right? 1,006 did, and they still send them cards every Christmas saying, "Hey, man, thanks for not investing in the company." Do you know what I mean? So a lot of, and even isn't that crazy? Even Apple, one of the guys, the first investors in Apple, he sold his shares of Apple, 10% of Apple stock, for $6,000. Because he didn't believe. I need my money back. Wow, what a colossal mistake. Even maybe just could have kept a couple thousand in, he'd still be a billionaire today.
Exactly. And while you were saying that earlier, I was thinking failure, failure, failure. I don't view, and clearly you do not either, I do not view failure as a stopping point. I never have. I learn more from my failures and mistakes than I do from any success. Because that failure always makes me go, what the heck? I'm going to fix this. I'm not having this. I'm pig-headed that way. I am not having this. So I know what you're talking about.
You are so right.
Now, there are times when I'll walk away and say, it wasn't a terrific idea in the first place, so I can shelve this. But if it's something I really believe in, I'm telling you, I'm not having it. It will get fixed somehow, someday.
It's always that if the why is strong enough, you'll figure out the how, right? So if the why is strong, Simon Sinek did a great story on this great video, but, it goes back a long before him, right? That the why will always come before the how.
Exactly. And you know what? I'm so glad you didn't say you're talking about not pivoting. You didn't use the word pivot, which I'll be honest, I can't stand that word anymore. You used the word adapt, which to me makes a whole heck of a lot more sense.
Yeah, I think a lot of times people think about pivot, right? But it's not about pivot. It's really, and it's not about just changing. It's about truly adapting to what's here and being able to innovate and really elevate. And this is the perfect time, believe it or not, during this time where you've got what I call a break in the action for a lot of individuals that now can realize that how can we be 100 times more efficient? And believe it or not, 100 times more efficient is possible through disruptive innovation.
Well, let's talk about that. Do you have any case studies you can share?
Well, let me just say, first of all, and I want to make sure we're really clear on this, that there's three real big driver points, right? So the first is to adapt. And so when we talk about adapt, and then we'll dive into a case study real quick, but in the adapt side is that, number one, you've got to stay calm. It's really important today through all these challenges. Number two is that you've got to listen to all leaders. Don't listen to one. Don't listen to one station, and never more than 20 minutes of news per day. Anything that happens, it'll come on a Google alert because it is all designed to pollute your mind. Their goal is to keep you stupid. And that's many times why they call it programming. Guess who's being programmed? Oh, yeah, that's right. It's you. Everyone thinks that garbage in, garbage out. It's not garbage in, garbage out. It's garbage in, garbage stays. And wherever it stays, it pollutes. So on the adapt side, and this is important too, is that you've got to really be super frugal today. Not be cheap, be frugal. Look at every bill that you currently pay and realize, are there ways that I can cut this out? Can I move this around? Can I focus on something that's going to cut all unnecessary expenses and move those into marketing, move those into forging forward, not looking back, but forging forward. And part of this is building a better plan. And the plan, you have to look at your team, your systems, your marketing, your accountability, your execution. And you've got to be able to look at these things every day. Because when we start to really think about adapting, you've got to position yourself, starting right now, this moment, as a member of the top 10 in your niche, which really means at a different level that you've got to get a book cover done. I don't care if you have the book done yet, get a book cover done and begin to put yourself out there as a market leader. Begin to get yourself listed on sites like Haro, Help a Reporter. Begin to get yourself set up where you've got your own group, your own community. See, what most people don't realize, where the biggest money has moved in the last 10 to 20 years, has all been the companies that have built something called an active community. I don't care if it's, look at the unicorns. If you look at Uber, unicorn, 5 years, $1 billion valuation, 200K startup. But what did they do? They built a massive community. Airbnb, Dollar Shave Club. I mean, all Dollar Shave Club did was make it easy to buy razors and sold for north of $1 billion. Twitter, Southwest Airlines, who's reinvented the idea of building a community there to serve all clients. This has all happened while we're watching and wondering, while they're literally taking down numbers that you've never seen before. Amazon is nothing more than a massive community, right? That they made it easy for you to buy something, have it delivered now within hours to your home, right, at a much lower fee because there's no more retail. There's no more retail employees. They've cut an entire section out of the complete, what I would call, if you look at the retail system. If you want to see pure disruptive innovation in motion, you study what Amazon did in the business model. Even though he was laughed at, for nearly 10 years they lost money every quarter. And Bezos was laughed at because his goal was to sell you some books. In the mid-'90s, I'm going to sell you some books. Like, man, haven't you heard of Crocs and Brentanos? Haven't you heard of all these big stores that sell books? And now what does Jeff Bezos sell you? Oh, that's right. He sells you anything he wants.
Yep.
Anything he wants. So as you go down that path, right, and this is really so powerful for your audience today, that once you realize you have to know this is what it is and adapt, the second key driver word is called innovate. And where does the innovation come from? Well, the innovation comes through technology that was never available before for small business without paying ridiculous amounts. I mean, today you can use apps like Anchor for a podcast. You can use another app, which is really powerful, called InShot. So for the first time ever, you can shoot a 1-minute video. You can drop a text opt-in inside the video. You can push one button, and it goes to all your social channels for about $9 a year. So imagine what that would have cost by paying someone all this money. And the key driver to this, once they opt in for one thing, you can give them a free book. You can put them in your free newsletter. You can have a complimentary consultation. There's a service called youcanbookmenow.com, once again, free. So now they can schedule time with you. So you've gone through most of the customer sales cycle or marketing cycle, and your total budget, believe it or not, is still under about $50 for the year for all the tools required to get these things in motion. And most people don't realize how powerful technology is, because if you're not using it, it's being used against you. Simple videos you can do. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, well, you mentioned Anchor and podcasting. Listen, I started podcasting, 13 years ago because it was free. I had never heard of it, and I still use Blog Talk Radio to this day. I've been wooed many times to go to different platforms. I'm not budging. They have treated me well. It costs me now $39 a month, $40 a month.
Thank you.
Because my podcast is an hour long, so I pay a little bit more. I love it. But, it's not difficult to do the things that you need to do these days. You just need to go find what the best value is for you and your audience and get busy.
Yeah, and you've got to be very frugal about it. So there's nothing wrong with being – I learned this 10 years ago. Forget buying the fancy car. I bought a used limousine. I hired a part-time driver. I never pay for parking. I never get tickets.
That's smart.
You know what I'm saying?
I love that.
I always get dropped off at the front door. So but someone's out there buying their $200,000 Ferrari. Well, you still got to drive it. You still got to park it. You got to pay for all those fees. Forget about it, right? And the neat part about this is when we think about innovation, we have to really think about innovating ourselves. How do we get better? How do we get sharper, more efficient? Well, we feed our mind. So daily, I recommend you look up this guy. His name is Jim Rohn, R-O-H-N. And he's you might not know him, but you certainly know the guy that he coached and mentored. His name is
Tony Robbins. Yep.
Yeah, so
absolutely.
Kenny's first mentor was Jim. And you can go to this website called YouTube, and you can watch it all for free. I recommend you set up a YouTube channel. I recommend that everything that you put online becomes part of your content library that you give away to all your free members. Let your free members come in and access a big part of your library. Now, if you have more advanced trainings, then you launch a $9 monthly membership. Think of the Netflix model. Don't serve a small group with a super high ticket. Serve everyone with a ticket that everyone can afford. And what they're looking for today is quality over quantity. They're looking for great content, great ideas and systems and content that works. So you can use things, and there's a lot of these out there, but like instant teleseminar. You can literally upload your PowerPoint, record your voiceover, and your 20-minute power talk is done and can be marketed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That leads the customer down the path to make a decision to work with you. Now, believe me when I tell you that everything rolls from mobile. Everything is going mobile. This is disruptive innovation in the ninth gear right now. Everything worldwide is going mobile. Africa will be 98% buyer ready within 24 months, and they have such incredible buying capacity, yet they've never, ever, ever hardly bought things through the web. They can now buy it right from the mobile phone. 70% of those that search for something on a mobile phone, they buy it. So if you can deliver your content easily, where they can push a button, watch it, learn, and execute, let me tell you something. It's a game changer for those that you've never heard of before that can become superstars overnight. I mean, if you look at the young Kardashian, right? I mean, 21 years old, sold half the company for $600 million, only had 7 employees. So get that one right. Talk about output per employee. $600 million cash sale with 7 employees through the use of social media. So when you start to think about where does your customer live, you need to market where your customer lives. You can be on every platform, but only focus on one platform where your customer lives. And once you've identified that customer, Facebook does a great job of let you building what's called a lookalike audience, costs you nothing, and you can market to your lookalike audience within a 5, 10, 20, or 50-mile radius to your business, and it's only going to find customers like yours. You upload 20 names of your current customers, just their email. It builds the audience for you so you waste $0 on your target marketing. And these are all little things, but they've got to be used in what I would call in a stereo version, where you're really making sure that your marketing, your sales, and your loyalty programs are all in sync. And this is just in the innovation side, but all the innovation does not start from the outside. It starts from the inside. Better success tomorrow starts with a better you today. And the last piece of this, and this is really kind of fun, is that when we look at businesses today, we really have to make sure that they understand the adapt, the innovate, and then overcome. And the overcome portion only comes when you execute like a rock star. So you've got to build daily KPIs or key performance indicators for yourself and your team. You've got to have a really solid daily method of operation. See, most of us have, if we've had a job, be there at 8, go to lunch at noon, come back at 1, leave at 5. Well, the 8 or 9 hour day is not going to make it for the entrepreneur. I tell all entrepreneurs you can work half days. You get to pick which 12 hours. It's your choice. And the sooner you keep score of this, the easier life becomes. And if you look at a great case study in current model today, just in the last 6 months, there's a great restaurant in Las Vegas that adapted, they innovated, and they've overcome. It's called Capriotti's. And the day that they began to lock down restaurants, Capriotti's set up tents outside their stores. They didn't have a drive-through. They created a drive-through at their physical stores. They began to spend large amounts of dollars on social media to drive traffic to their online ordering system, and they created a major push with the Grubhubs and the Uber Eats, every online provider. And believe it or not, their employee count didn't go down, it went up. Their sales went up. During one of the toughest times in the economy, they adapted, they innovated, and they've overcome. And now they're looking at, are the restaurants even the best model when they're way more profitable? And that's the big thing. Their profits went up by almost 13 or 14%. Didn't let people go. They've actually had to hire more people. Look at Amazon today. Amazon right now today announced they're looking to hire 100,000 more people and pay them $1,000 signing bonus just to come work for Amazon because of how much help that they need. So, and I do believe that this innovation towards mobile and digital was going to come either way. All this pandemic has put almost all of it on fast forward, so that you're going to see most of these major department stores, I believe, become either health clubs or high-priced condos.
I have said that for a long time. Look, I hate shopping. I detest it. I bought my house online. I bought my car online. I buy my groceries online. So I know exactly what you're talking about. But
Yep.
I can't even tell you the last time I was in a mall, and I was only there under duress because my mother had come to visit, and she wanted to go, and I whined the whole way. In fact, I actually got into a fender bender because I was whining. It wasn't a good day. But I have noticed for a very long time that malls are just dying. And
Yep.
honestly, who would want to go to those anymore? You can order everything online. I think this is just me observing, but I think in some ways malls are fairly dangerous. And, you're right. I think those are going to become homeless shelters or warehouses or whatever's going to happen to them. But buildings now, there's a lot of building use influx, and that's going to continue, I think.
I think you're seeing this happen now, whether you like it or not, but Amazon has made a bid to buy all the Sears stores, to make them grocery stores, to make them massive grocery stores, and make them outlets for delivery for their products and services. So, and because the price has gone so low on some of this stuff, now is the perfect time to drive it.
That makes sense. I didn't realize that, but I did know that Sears had been in trouble for quite a long while. That's a very good idea. So when you say to educate yourself and you say to pay attention, this is exactly what we as even small solopreneurs, small business owners, we should not get stuck in our own ego or say, oh, I'm a small dry cleaner. Nobody's going to pay attention to me online. They sure will. If you're giving tips, advice, free information, they're going to pay attention to you. You're going to get that name recognition. You're going to be the one they come to. My thinking is don't get in your own way by thinking nobody cares, that you can't do what the big boys are doing. You can.
It's crazy. You're so right about this, because if you'll give away great free stuff, they'll come back for the rest. What most people don't realize is that you've got to create something today called edutainment. And this is also another, you say, what fits into disruptive innovation? Well, it's not just, once again, giving them a great show. You've got to educate them. You've got to put value in. You've got to give tools they can use, give exact things they can use right now. One of the coolest new tools I found this last couple of years is called Mingle, MINGL.NO. This is an awesome tool to build an automated website within seconds for any persona, for any type of business. It links to all your social media channels. It links to all your PDFs, all your websites. And the greatest part about this, it allows you to broadcast text message distribution globally for free. So imagine you've got a group in Germany. If you're trying to text them every day from a normal text, you're paying a lot of money. But now all of a sudden, because of your show is broadcast globally like your show is, right? People are listening in different countries. They like it. They can actually opt into your page from there, and now you can communicate with them via text globally, no charge. So there's incredible innovation out there.
What is it called again? I have not heard of this.
It's called Mingle. It's MINGL.NO. And if you want to see my page, it's MINGL.NO/Bill Walsh 360.
Thank you.
You can get it. You can create your free website within minutes, and it's best to do it on the app. So you download the app and do it through the app. You get a lot more features on the app versus you do on the computer.
And see, I thought I knew everything. You just taught me something new, and I'm a web developer. I love to build websites.
There's always new stuff coming out.
Oh, that is terrific. I'm going to definitely look that up. One thing that there's a thought bubble going off over my head while you're talking, and I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to need to get you to come back in the new year. We're not going to cover everything that's in my head. So would you mind coming back in the new year? Oh, good.
Anytime.
You see, I did that on the radio, so you can't tell me no. It's very sneaky. But the thought bubble that I keep seeing over my head is consistency. Consistency in learning, consistency in adapting, consistency in sharing. You can't just say, okay, I wrote myself a note this morning. I need to start writing more on Medium. I need to start writing more on LinkedIn. I need to actually create a LinkedIn newsletter. My second thought was, how often are you going to do it? Because you can't just do it once and go, oh, I did it. I'm good. We all make that mistake, don't we?
We do, but one thing you could do is once you create content in one place, You can literally hire a virtual admin. You can get virtual admins now for as low as $50 a week, and they can take all your content, repurpose it for you as you would have probably done it. Sometimes they do it better than we do, but they can take your original content you created one time, repurpose it for all these other platforms, and they can post it 3 times a week for you. And this way it takes none of your time, but your efficiency goes through the roof. And these are things, once again, we didn't have this 20 years ago. We didn't have this 10 years ago. But now for the first time ever, you are finding that because there's such a boom in the digital learning, digital age, and so much money is being put towards this, if you don't recognize it, you're going to be left behind. This is an amazing wave of technology that for the first time ever is now being brought down where every small business, every entrepreneur can afford these services. And to not use them quick, once again, I promise you your competition does. And that's why it's important. If you're going to find all the money's in the top 10. Whatever your niche is, get to the top 10. The top 10 will always outproduce the other 90% combined.
And see, this takes us back to what you said earlier about marketing. Listen, I did this years ago, and I do it annually ever since. I go through my household budget, my marketing budget, my team budget. I look at everything. Do I really need Netflix? No, I do not. Do I need cable? Mother of God, no. I cut that out 10 years ago. Garbage in, garbage out. Yeah, there are so many different things that we're just paying because it passes through our bank account. We're not paying attention to it. Membership sites. I mean, I cleaned out a whole slew of those things at $7, $9, $37. For a while, $37 was the sweet spot. Nobody really questioned it. And all of a sudden, I cleared out, that first year that I did it, I cleared out $3,000 out of my budget immediately and learned a valuable lesson. So my suggestion would be to sit down, find all of the different tools that you need to make that marketing happen, whether it's a virtual assistant, whether it's a Mingle, whatever it is, whether it's a terrific marketing coach. Get rid of the fluff, the garbage that is in your budget, and redirect that money, since you're already paying it, redirect that money to marketing and to creating a team and creating a plan. How far off am I?
No, you're right on the money. I mean, the big thing that I would recommend is that you start with the plan first, which really means that, and this is an easy way to look at any business, right? So whatever your revenue markers are, let's say your revenue marker is $200K for the year. Let's just start with that. Let me give you a really basic way to build a plan that shows you exactly how to get to the number that you're planning for in your income. So we know that's our number to the right. That's our gross. I can't go into net revenues because that's a whole other conversation, but gross revenue is an easy number for everyone to understand. Now let's go, so that's on the right side of the equal sign. Just write that down. To the left of the equal sign, I want you to draw a line times a line equals your gross revenue. Now on the right-hand side, there's two little lines there to fill in. This times this equals this. On the right-hand side, this times the second line is going to be your average sale per customer, how much you generate per customer in a year. So let's just say that it's $1,000. Let's say that in your business today you can make $1,000 on a customer. If it's $50, that's fine, whatever it is. But if you have that number, $1,000, I'm doing this just to make it simple. On the left-hand side, that means you've got to serve 200 customers. You see, what we focus on is the money. We don't focus on the customers we serve. So if you look to the left-hand side, I know that if I could serve 200 customers at $1,000 a customer, that's $200,000 for the year. So that breaks down to 50 customers a quarter. That breaks down to roughly 17 customers a month. That breaks down to around 4.5 customers, right? Just get these numbers crazy, right? 4.5 customers per week. So I know for a fact that if I'm not on track, I'm off track. And let's just say that your effectiveness rate is 10%, which means that if you can get in front of X number of people, 10% will become your clients. So that means each quarter to make 50 sales, you know you have to get your presentation in front of at least 500 people. If you get in front of 500 people, there's a good chance that 10% will say, I want this person's product, service, whatever it's going to be, and they'll buy that day. But see, you can't sit home and think, well, I'm going to make all this money, so I'm going to get some bonbons and watch movies. That's not the answer. You've got to know down to the day, how many do you have to peak interest, how many you have to present, how many you have to help get started with your product or service. Until you understand that you don't focus on the money, you focus on the customers you serve, you're going to stay in a place called Busyville. And Busyville leads you to a place called Brokeville. Productivity Central is focused on customer serving. If you go by every McDonald's today and just drive by McDonald's, it always says billions and billions served. It does not say we make billions on you, right?
You know,
So
I never
really
thought
good.
of that. And I don't go through drive-through windows. It's not healthy. And I'm a good cook. I like to cook my own food, but you know, I have seen that I don't know how many times during my life. It never sunk in the way you just said it.
It's pretty powerful when you think about it. When you can just shift the quality of your language, you'll shift the quality of your life. And the language is something that we have to become masters of. And if we can really speak into the language, you can literally speak things into existence. I know that sounds
I believe
crazy,
that.
but
I believe that. Absolutely.
We live in a very dynamic universe, and either you're tuned in or you're tuned out. And the minute you start to tune in, you'll see things, you'll hear things you've never heard before. And when you really move your business from money focus to how many customers have I served today focus, you're going to watch how fast your business starts to grow. You know, just try this out for a week, and you'll see the difference in your mindset and your delivery to know that every day, if I know that I need 4.5 customers a week, that means I've got to make 40 presentations this week. If I don't get 40 people in front of my presentation, my product, or my service, then you don't deserve to make any sales.
You know, this reminds me so much of a conversation I had kind of late at night with a client, a friend, colleague, if you will. And it was during really bad times, 2008, I believe it was. And, you know, everybody, I live in the South. And I'm telling you, there were bumper stickers all over the state of Louisiana that said, last person out, turn off the lights. I mean, it was bad. And this friend of mine, we were talking late at night, and his wife was kind of listening in the background, and he kept saying, but I have to make this many sales each day, and I have to do this. And the pressure he was putting on himself and his family just because of this mindset was intense. And it was just late enough, and I was just cranky enough. I said, you're doing it all wrong. Everything you are doing, he's a numbers guy, no question about it. I said, listen, I'm probably going to lose a friendship here, but every thought process you have offered is wrong. You are not serving anybody. You are focused on your spreadsheet. Nobody gives a flying flip about your spreadsheet. How are you helping people? And he just went, oh. And he completely flipped things around. And the conversation went a bit longer than that, but you get the gist of it. And all of a sudden, he got out of that mindset. He became a servant leader, and he is doing phenomenally well. But somebody had to slap him upside the head, and unfortunately, well, he says fortunately, that somebody was a cranky me, but it worked.
It worked, and that's the most important thing, because whatever you feed grows. And you talked about this before with your language. Whatever you feed your mind, you become. And that's one thing that, you know, T. Harv Eker, he wrote a book called Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. He talked about, you know, that what you talk about, you bring about, right? But so much of this is that, you know, is that whatever you feed your mind, you're going to become, whether you like it or not. And habits either are your best friend or your worst enemy, but you get to choose, right? And no matter what you've been through in the past, today's a whole new day. You know, every day the sun comes up, it's a brand new day for you to make that day one of your best days ever. And what I've found is that most successful people that I've spent my time with, whether it was Richard Branson or past presidents or industry leaders, they all had very, very solid habits. They all kept journals. In other words, they all had a sequence for success. And you just got to find your sequence for success and kind of get into your flow. You know, and the minute you can move from guessing and trying to really knowing and owning, it becomes a much different atmosphere for you to have the ability to grow and surround yourself with great people. This is the perfect time to cut some of the dead weight, get rid of some of the negative people in your life that all they have done is just suck off your greatness. I call them energy-sucking vampires. You know, they're always the one that never has solutions, but always can find things to bitch about and moan about and complain about. We call them BMWs, right? Bitch, moan, and whine. It's like, move on.
I love that.
It's so
but,
true.
You're right, though. And one of the things you're talking about, sequence, because I've studied everybody you've listed, and I've paid money to several of them, and happy money. But one of the things
Sure.
that I've noticed about every single one of these people, yourself included, is that one of the sequences, one of their, I don't know what it is that they do in the morning meditation, but gratitude is always a big part of that. And when I shifted, because I'm one of those people, I open my eyes, I hit the floor running. My mother used to say that, when the devil heard me open my eyes, it was like, oh crap, she's awake. I would
That's
not
right.
take the time to breathe, not jump out of the bed, but open up my mind's eye, if you will, and say, thank you. Now I don't
Yeah.
budge out of that bed no matter how much the cat is standing on my bladder. I have to express my gratitude before I leave that bed.
I think you're 100% right. I think that gratitude power is everything. I wake up every day and I thank God for the blessings in my life, and whatever you believe in, whatever, superpower you believe in, that it all definitely starts there. But then when you can really be thankful for the things in your life, you'd be surprised when you stop asking for things and you're more thankful for what you have, you're going to find that more blessings come into your life and more great things show up in your life. So instead of asking for things or praying for things, pray for the blessings you have first, right? And then of course, feed your mind with some Jim Rohn. Give yourself 10 minutes of good content each morning. And then whatever your morning ritual, that's great. That's where it definitely starts. And you'll find that people that follow the sequence of gratitude power first, gratitude will always determine your attitude. It'll also determine your altitude, what pace you want to run and play at. Because if you continue to wake up and all you're doing is complaining about things, what are you attracting into your life? And we have fun with this because you can just tell there's some people that they're so negative, come in the room, the lights go dim, and there's some people that come in the room and they just light the room up. Right? So I always ask people, which one are you going to be today? Right?
I'm going to light up the room. I do all the time.
Damn right. I know you do it every day.
I catch myself. I do. And sometimes I'll have to go, up the ampage. You're falling a bit here. And I'll have to kind of concentrate on what is just really going well in my life. And more importantly, why is it going well? It's always gratitude. It's always paying attention. It's always talking with people like you. It's, getting a really neat email from somebody that I haven't spoken in a while. Hey, Denise, how are you doing? I'm just thinking about you. Really? That is so nice. And off I go. Look for the little things that turn into the big things that sustain you.
Yeah, and I think that's really what most people don't do. Is they never celebrate the small victories. As an entrepreneur, you've got to celebrate the small victories and pay attention to those that don't. Pay attention to those around you that don't celebrate your small victories, because you're going to find many times those are the same ones that just can't wait. They just can't wait. They just can't wait for you to fail. And I see that happen so many times with entrepreneurs, that they let the negative anchors pull them down instead of celebrating the small things that then become the big things.
Exactly. And sometimes that does require a focus, which leads me to my next question, or something that you had mentioned. We do need to focus on our vision, our mission, our path, and our purpose. What do you tell people who are just saying, there's so much going on right now, I can't focus on anything other than, do I have gas in my car? How do you help people understand that focus is critical?
I think that many times motivation by itself is not enough. If you motivate idiots, you have motivated idiots. and they live in a place called Busyville, because they'll tell you how busy they are. What are you doing? I'm busy. Busy doing what? I don't know, but I'm busy. Yeah, but in reality, if you really look at the highest level, chunk it up to the highest level, when Steve Jobs came back and he took over Apple, it wasn't about a daily plan. It wasn't about, hey, we got to cut payroll, we got to do this. No, he said, what's the vision for the brand? Because the vision is really at the highest level. Where are you going? Ask yourself this question. The highest level for your business, the vision is, where are you going in the next 5 years? That's where the vision starts. So is it to become number one, the top 10, to become the industry leader, whatever that's going to be, to change the world? That's the big vision. So the vision's where we're going. The mission's how we get there. So the mission's also based on customers you're going to serve. It's always based on customers you're going to serve. And if you look at the number, just study this. How many customers do you plan to serve in the next 1, 3, and 5 years? The mission is based on customers you serve. The vision's always where you're going. And so once we realize To be number one in the state of California for this, it takes the requirement of serving this number of customers. Kennedy talked about a vision. By the end of the decade, we'll put a man on the moon. Well, the mission was 500,000 man-hours to get there. They didn't get there by accident. They got there with less technology than we have in our cell phones today, but they did it. And the same thing when you look at your purpose, it's why are you in that space? If you're having a bad day, any day, just do me a favor, write this down. Why did you join, or why did you start the company you're running today? Go back to the day one. Go back to your day one when you started. Why did you start in that business? That why will give you the fuel to get through the challenging days. It'll give you the fuel to get through the tough times because we all face them, right? But it's really understanding that success and inspiration is the driving force, but what truly inspires you to step outside the comfort zone, which you have to do every day as an entrepreneur, is take a much higher look at the vision. And once you write the vision down, put it on some billboards, put it on some posters, put it wherever you're going to read something every day. Because the vision will, without a doubt, pull you through the most challenging times by inspiring you at the soul level first.
You know what I did one time, and I probably should kind of start this habit again. I was really struggling with what my purpose was. Why was I doing what I was doing? And I was burned out. This is when I was pretty big, very big actually, in the virtual assistance industry. I don't do that anymore. I burnt completely out. But what I did was I took some chalkboard, one of those markers, and all over my bathroom mirrors I scribbled what it was that I wanted to happen. And guess what? I was looking at myself, I was looking at my marker, and it worked. I was able to focus on what my vision was or what it was becoming because it was very much in flux at that time. And I mean, I'm not one of those people looking in the mirror all the time, but we all have to go into the bathroom at some point, right? You're in there. You can't focus on anything else other than what you're doing. It's not a play place. You can look at that mirror and go, okay, got it. And off you go again. You've rejuvenated that thought process.
Yeah, and you hit the thing right on the head, too. That word focus is really powerful. So if everyone just writes down the word focus, what focus really means is follow one course until successful.
Exactly. You cannot run around and do 100 things. Exactly.
No,
I mean, I was one of those people that,
well.
No, and it took me the longest kind of time. I thought I was the best, person I could do 100 things at once, or 5 anyway. I was making mistakes. I was making some goofy mistakes.
We all do. We all do. We all make mistakes. Anyone tells you they're perfect, it means they either haven't done very much, right, or they're lying, one of the two.
Well, focus is so important. And listen, there are so many ways to focus. Maybe it's a meditation, which I cannot do, by the way. I either fall over and drool or I start mentally making my Thanksgiving grocery list in July. I don't know what that's all. Although I will say that I have what I call it my refrigerator meditation. We all open the refrigerator doors for some reason. I don't know why we do it. The instant we do, we go blank. So when my brain is kind of fuzzy or fried, I just go open the French doors on my refrigerator, stick my head in there, and I take a break. I've got not a single thought in my head. So when I come back out, I call it open refrigerator door syndrome. All of a sudden, I'm like, I got an idea.
It's that same thing that sometimes you got to check out to check back in.
Exactly, and it doesn't take very long.
So true.
So it really doesn't. So we had talked a little bit about how to create great partnerships, and I think we already talked about teams, but let's cover great partnerships because I learned this the hard way. You cannot do it all on your own. You cannot. So let's cover that.
Well, that was probably one of the biggest mistakes that I made is that, I think there's a word called ego, and it means edging God out. And sometimes you have to realize that if you want to go really fast, you go by yourself. But if you want to go really far, you've got to go with a great team. And a big part of that team is you have to become the person that attracts the right team. You have to become the leader don't try to find a team. Be so good that you attract the right people into your life that just can't wait to run with you. And you don't want people you got to carry. If you got to carry them, it's not going to work. I mean, what I look for, we look for team members, right? Or we're attracting team members is, do they have the technical skills? In other words, can they do the job? Number two, and this is important, would you trust them with your kids? If it's not someone you trust with your kids, then don't spend time with them.
Right.
And a third thing is this someone could manage a team of 5? Not a team of 500, but just a small team of 5. Are they really effective at delegating? This is really important as you're building a team. And then, of course, the fourth one, which is really, really kind of strange, is that would you feel comfortable with them in a social setting, right, with your group of friends? Because many times what happens is that we attract teams that only look up to you versus teams you look up to. But to build greatness, to really build something phenomenal, you have to attract people to play. Maybe they're even smarter than you. They might be smarter than you in what you do, but they might be smarter in some other area. But you're going to find that if you can attract really smart people that are super talented, that you would trust with your kids, that have the skills to get the job done, that you'd feel comfortable with them in a social setting talking about your business, you're going to build a home run team.
And see, Bill, I knew all of the rest of it. I have a team. I've had a team for quite a number of years, and several of them were all virtual. I've never physically met any of them. Some of them have been with me for a decade or better, but you know what the hardest thing for me to do was? To let them do, to actually recognize that whatever it was that I was asking them to do, because I'm hands-on, I know what I'm asking to do. I can do it myself. I never ask, just a general question like, can you do this? I know specifically what has to be done, which makes it easier on everybody because I'm clear. This is what I'm asking for. What took me a while, though, was to realize that these people I had brought into my team were specialists. They weren't generalists. They weren't, somebody who could just say, oh, yeah, well, I think I can do it. No, they were specialists, whatever task it was, whatever tool it was, and they continued to grow, their knowledge. And once I started saying, listen, this is what I want done. This is the way I've always done it. But if you have a better way or suggestions, please let me know. That completely changed the dynamic. So now when I hire, I look for people who are better at something than I am. I can do it, but they are better at it because they have specialized.
Yeah, and they'll make your life a whole lot easier, trust me.
Oh, yeah, big time, big time. So we've talked about focus. We've talked about teams and the global market. Did I miss anything? Because there were so many things that I wanted to chat with you about. What would you like to share?
I think we've covered a lot of stuff. I just want to share thanks for having me on the show. Gratitude power works, and I'm glad to add some insight and some wisdom from my 25-plus years of doing this. And it's fun to be on your show on my birthday, which is pretty cool. So, I know you can rebroadcast these and play it again, but it's always fun. And I want to thank you for having me on. And if it's okay, I'd love to give away a book to all your listeners. Can we give away a free book for everybody?
Absolutely. In fact, I was just getting ready to text it.
Oh, well, that's easy. So all you have to do if you're listening today is you can find me on Instagram and that kind of stuff. Just Bill Walsh 360, all the social channels, whether it's LinkedIn or whether it's Instagram or Facebook. I'm all under Bill Walsh 360. But the gift I'd like to share is you've seen the movie The Secret. I wrote a best-selling book called The Obvious. It talks a lot about some of the things we talked about today, but much deeper, really about the principles and the laws for success that I don't believe the laws for success have changed in 300 years. I really do believe that we have the answers. Many times we know what to do. We just need a great reminder of that. So I've included today a copy of my book, access to our newsletter for free for the whole year, and just lots of great videos on helping you launch, grow, and build an even better business. And all you have to do is just text the word obvious. So you text the word obvious, OBVIOUS, to 26786. Text the word obvious to 26786 right from your cell phone, and you'll get all these gifts. So we've made it super easy, and I'm just honored to be on your show and really happy to share some of this with your group of listeners from all over the world. And I also want to say I'm really excited to have you at one of our Success Summits coming up. That'll be broadcast towards later this year in October. But we're excited to share your wisdom on the power of influence in podcasting that everyone needs to learn about because, like I said, people are craving great information and great content. And I think you do a great job of bringing great people on, and you have a great flow about how you handle these interviews and these Q&A sessions and this insightful wisdom session you offer. And I'm just honored to be a part of it.
Oh, thank you. I knew I liked you for a reason. You just spelled it out. And I'm really looking forward to being on your event in October. I'm very excited about that. We've got a few more minutes. Do you have any really interesting stories? You've worked with power players all over the world. Do you have any really great stories that you'd like to share?
Well, I think it's really good we talked about gratitude and paying it forward, right? And the big pay it forward and create value first, create the big wins. And this is a funny story that, I always had a passion to do business with this guy named Mark Victor Hansen. He was always someone I looked up to because I've seen him at some conferences. He's a best-selling author, wrote a book called Chicken Soup for the Soul. I think they've sold about 500 million copies. And we decided I met his partner up at an event in Canada. And 3 months later, they were going to go on their book tour, launching a new book. And this is about 12 years ago or more. And I said, when you come to Chicago, I'll throw a party, help you sell some books. He said, oh, that would be great. And we totally hit it off, not Mark, but with Mark's partner. And now it's like 3 weeks away. I'm like messaging, hey, are we going to do this event? Yeah, don't have the times yet. We have to, get the radio station set up and the stores set up. And because there was a big campaign to sell the books. 3 days before the event, the partner says, hey, can you still have the event between 2:30 and 4 o'clock in Chicago? Meanwhile, I'm in Europe. I'm not even in the States, but I will be back for that date. And I said, absolutely. I didn't know how. I didn't know exactly all the details, but I knew for a fact that I could host something with two of the best-selling authors of all time, and they could be in Chicago, and I could put together an event. So I called my friends, and I said, I've got two of the best-selling authors coming in. The tables are $1,000 a table. It's good for you and 9 of your best clients or friends. And it'll only be for a couple hours. It'll never happen again. It's a once-in-a-lifetime experience. And sure enough, believe it or not, we sold almost 44 tables in 30 minutes. And when they walked in, the place was jam-packed, wall-to-wall with people. And Mark walked up. He said, I really don't know who you are. I'm not really sure how you did this, but you and I, we're going to do a lot of business together. And that was the start of a great relationship where he hired my son to manage his social media. He tried to adopt my son, Austin. He's a very talented internet marketer. And he's been at I don't know how many of our events and spoke for free and just shared his wisdom. And it's really great to understand that when you really do pay it forward. And, of course, and they sold more books at our event than all their stops in Chicago. I didn't say, gosh, you got to pay me for the books. I just said, you know what, guys, thanks for coming in. Glad to serve. And they stayed there till 7 o'clock that night signing books for people. So it just goes to show you that when you can really add value first, expect nothing in return, the universe is your oyster, and there's no limit to your potential. Because when you really help people that play at that kind of level, they talk about it. And when they talk about it, your business doesn't just grow, it grows exponentially. So think exponential growth through service, and you'll have more customers and you know what to do with. So hope that gives you a good, quick story to end this amazing session.
And, again, thought bubbles. I always have these speech bubbles over my head. Good thing I live alone and nobody can see them floating over me. But what I kept seeing floating over my head in my mind's eye was servant leadership. And you're right. Typify that beautifully. So, Bill, again, we're just about, this is the quickest hour on the internet, I'm telling you. Where can people find you before I let you go?
Easiest way, once again, you can catch it on our website at ipowerteam.com. That's www.ipowerteam.com. But the easy way to connect with me directly is just text the word obvious, get all the free gifts. Text the word obvious to 26786 right from your cell phone, and you'll get my book, you'll get newsletters, you'll get some great videos on launch, grow, and build a better business. And once again, I just want to thank you for having me on your show.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm just really you ought to see, I've got index cards. I've got 4 index cards where I've been taking notes. Thank you so much. It has been absolutely wonderful speaking with you, and I thank you for all of the wonderful tips and the advice and the terrific stories that you've shared with our audience. So before we say goodbye, I would like to remind our audience to be sure to look for us on iTunes, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and honestly anywhere else you consume your business podcasts. And pardon my voice. Just look for your partner in Success Radio and take us along on your success journey. Bill, thank you.
It's been an honor. I'll let you go. Talk to you soon. Have an awesome day.
Get your voice heard. If you would like to launch your own far-reaching podcast, contact Denise Griffitts at yourofficeontheweb.com and go to the podcast tab.